Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show. You never know who you're really meeting in prison. You never know who you're really around, what the circumstances are. Now, there are those rare occasions, especially like with your cellie or somebody like that you get close to by working out with them or playing ball, where they might open up to you a little bit and tell you their backstory. But for the most part, if it's not your immediate circle, you don't know people's backstory. You don't know who they know and what brought them to prison, what put them in the situation that they might have, cut everybody off on the streets. You just don't know what's really going on with people in here. And because of that, a lot of things happen to people that they never imagined would happen. They'll say, well, why is it so serious to this person? And why would they want to do this to me because of something as small as this or that or whatever, And that means giving and taking. You understand what I'm saying? And that's going to become clearer to you as I continue to tell this story, what I mean by that, right? There was this one guy. His name was Ron, right? Ronald, but they called him Ron, those that really, really knew him. But in prison, he got the name Hard Time. They called him Hard Time because of the way he did his time. Now, let me give you the backstory on Ron when he was, when he was Ron. Ron was a happily married man. Never, ever bothered anybody. Had friends that he kicked it with, and, they all went out together, the husbands, the wives, and all. They traveled, the vacation together. They did all of these different types of things. And then one day, he comes home, and he finds this intruder in his house. And this intruder had his wife and had a knife to her throat. And Ron, he clocked. He's trying to protect his wife. He snaps all the way out. And the intruder starts to run and he gets away. He's trying to get away. And as he's running and trying to get away, Ron is chasing him down. He's enraged. He's pissed because this intruder was trying to do something to his wife. Use your imagination. You understand what I'm saying? So when he catches him, he beats him. Now, when he catches him, he's like maybe down the street from the house, not even a block from the house, but he's outside of Ron's house. He's not a threat to Ron anymore. But Ron is so enraged about what he was attempting to do to his wife that he put hands on him. And he just kept beating him and beating him and beating him. And before you knew it, the man was laying there in a puddle of blood, and Ron had blood all over his fist and all over his shirt and everything like that. And people had started to come out, and they were yelling at him, "Stop, you're killing him. Stop, 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 you're killing him." And that brought Ron back too. He snapped out of that trance that he was in. And he jumped up and he ran back to the house because he was thinking about his wife. And as he's getting to the house, he sees his wife. She's making her way out of the house looking for him. And he runs to the porch and he embraces and he asks her, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "Yes." She said, "What is all the blood? What happened to you?" And he's like, "I don't know. I don't know." He couldn't remember. He had blacked out. Zonked all the way out. So now the police had been called. And the people down the street, they don't really know what happened, as far as his wife, but they just know that Ron had beat this man. So when the police get there, they come down, they get Ron. And when they get Ron, his wife like, no, this man was trying to assault me. And then they put the puzzle together and figured out that the man that had been beaten by Ron had broken into their house and was trying to assault his wife. He was trying to assault his wife. And they still took him to jail because this man that had broken into the house, he's not conscious. They rush him to the hospital. They get him to the hospital. And now he's in a coma. He's not doing good. His brain is swollen. Ron beat him to a pulp. And now he's in jail, charged with attempted murder, right? Now, while he's in jail, he calls his wife. This is the first night. He calls his wife. They try to arrange for bond and all this and that. And it takes some time. He goes in front of the judge and they do all of the things that they got to do. And they finally are able to post his bond. And when they post his bond, he gets out. And the guy is still in the hospital. He's in the hospital. He's come out of his coma. And he's talking. He's telling them a story that nobody could even imagine would be true. So he's telling them this story that he wasn't assaulting Ron's wife. They had been seeing each other on the side, and they got into an argument. And when Ron came into the house unexpectedly, that's what he saw. They were arguing. And his wife dared not say one word about what was really going on. So the police, when they go question Ron's wife, she panics. She panics. And she denies the whole thing. She tells him that it's not true. He's lying. So the police are now trying to look into this because they have to determine what really happened, because it's going to be instrumental to the case that Ron is facing. So they do some digging, and they get phone records, and they can see that they had been talking, Ron's wife and the guy that he assaulted, they could see that they had been talking on the phone. So now her story is starting to fall apart. There has been some kind of contact. Now, they're not telling Ron initially all of the information that they have because they don't want something worse to happen. You know, people's emotions flare, and he's already demonstrated that, you know, he can't control his emotions when it comes to his wife. So they don't want to tell him everything that's going on. So they try to secretly, confidentially, privately, discreetly try to talk to his wife and say, look, you need to tell us what was going on because your husband assaulted this man, and it may be that he walked in and he saw what looked like you being assaulted, but there's more to the story that he needs to know because it's going to be instrumental to the prosecution of the case. So she breaks down and she tells the police, but she begs the police to let her go home and tell Ron herself. So she goes home and she tells Ron the whole story. The whole story. How she met the guy, why she was messing with him, and she gives him this long story that, you know, he hadn't been paying attention to her, and she met him at the grocery store, and one thing led to another, and bam, there it was. But after a few months, she didn't want to do it anymore. She was trying to break it off, and that's what happened when Ron walked in. He saw them two arguing about her not wanting to be involved with him anymore, and he got upset. So Ron is devastated. He sat there and he cried, and she tried to comfort him, and he just couldn't say a word. He could not understand what more he could have done as a husband, as a provider, as a lover, to make her happy. He didn't see what she saw. He came home every day at 5:30. He spent time with her. They went out to eat. They vacationed. They did all of the things that, you know, you would think that you were supposed to do. So he's trying to figure, where did he go wrong? He's asking her these questions, and she keeps saying that you just weren't paying enough attention to me. And he started to blame himself. And now, you know, he's starting to realize that he'd hurt this man for nothing. He'd hurt this man because he thought that his wife was being assaulted. And it wasn't the case at all. It wasn't the case at all. So when he talked to his lawyer had already been made aware of the circumstances through the DA's office, but once Ron told him everything that went on, he told Ron that it would be best if he took a plea. If he took a plea. And Ron didn't want to take a plea. He didn't want to plead guilty to the charges, but he knew that if he went to trial that it was going to be bad for him. Because even though he thought that his wife was being assaulted, the truth of the matter is once the man was outside the house, he was no longer a threat to Ron or his wife. So Ron pursuing him pushed that thing up, you know what I'm saying, to attempted murder. Attempted murder. And the man had come out of the coma in the hospital, but he wasn't good no more. He had slight brain damage, swelling of the brain, all of this. And it was going to be a long time before he was able to function again in a way that was without help. So the DA offered Ron 30 years. 30 years. And Ron didn't want to take it. He didn't want to take that 30 years. But his lawyer and everybody that around him was telling him he should take it and all of these different types of things. So he went to one of his friends, somebody that him and his wife had vacation with, somebody that he had grown up with. And this guy's name was David. And David told him, it might be best if you take it. Because if you don't take it, they're going to try to give you more than that. But in exchange for the 30, they were going to drop some of the other charges that they had on them. You know, when they charge you, they load you up. Attempted murder, aggravated assault, all of these different types of charges that's out of one incident that's basically saying the same thing but on different levels. You know what I'm saying? And he decided to talk to his lawyer and see if his lawyer could get it dropped down to 20 years, and he would take it. The lawyer went to talk, and in the meantime, in between time, while they were trying to work out this plea agreement, he was spending a lot of time with his friend David and talking to him. And you know, and David had a pre-teenage son. He was about 14 or 15 years old, and he used to sit out and he listened to them talk. And his son was always into stuff. And Ron wanted to use what was about to happen to him as an example to the young man to let him know, look, get your life together. Because even if you're doing everything right, you could end up in a situation like me and end up going to prison. He had reconciled, you know what I'm saying, to himself that he was going to go to prison. And the young man was listening to him and all, and he was telling him this ain't going to happen to me. You know how preteens are and teens are. They feel like they're invincible, ain't nothing going to happen to them and all this. So anyway, he just threw that little nugget at him and he didn't accept it. But so Ron's friend, David, said he'd be there for him, he'd support him, and all of these different types of things that people say that know you and love you, that say. So he went home and he told his wife that he was going to take the 20 years if his lawyer could get it. If not, he was going to go ahead and go to trial. He just didn't feel like that he had anything to live for. And he told her that he wanted to divorce her. And she was adamantly against it, and she said she would not sign off on no divorce. She was sorry for what she did, and she was going to stay with him, and she was going to do this time with him, whatever it was, because she felt to blame. She felt to blame. And she talked to the DA and begged the DA, and the DA finally said, okay, I'll give him 20. So they got the 20-year plea agreement. He went into court, he signed for the 20. Off he went. Off he went. He didn't want to spend any time with his wife or anything. He was just broken. And when he got to prison, he cut ties with everybody. See, normally when you come to prison, you know, you get your phone list and put numbers on your list and all these different types of things. He didn't put anybody on his phone list. He didn't send anybody any visitation forms. He refused to write back when people wrote him letters. He just cut himself off. He cut himself off from the world. He made his time hard. He made his time hard. And people started to call him Hard Time. That's why they started to call him Hard Time, because he made his time hard. He was punishing himself. In his mind, he felt like he was a fool. He loved his wife. He did everything for his wife, and he was rewarded with infidelity. And it cost him everything because he thought he was protecting the woman that he loved, and he assaulted somebody to the point where he almost killed him. So he cut everybody out. He didn't want to talk to nobody, didn't want to communicate with nobody, didn't want to have nothing to do with nobody. Nothing at all to do with nobody. Nobody. So, now don't forget David's son. David's son is out there, you know, he's 14, 15 years old, and he's doing all kinds of stuff. He's getting into all kinds of craziness, you know. And the years are going by, and he's becoming a hardened criminal. He believes that he can get away or talk his way out of any and every situation now. In the meantime, Ron has been in prison 3, 4, 5 years. And he's developed this reputation that he don't kick it with nobody. He goes about doing this time. He don't even talk with his cellie much. He keeps the basic stuff on the shelf: toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, soap, those kinds of things. And all he buys is noodles. That's all he buys. He don't buy no pouches to put in it. He survives off of chow hall food and ramen noodles. Excuse me. He doing his time really, really hard. Really, really hard. But he's content. He's going to do these 20 years and he's going to get out. He'll be in his 60s when he get out. Well, no, he'll be in his 50s. I think that's what it was. He'll be probably in his 50s when he gets out, and then he's going to move on. He's just going to move on without anybody. He's just going to start anew. All these plans he's got. Well, David's son catches a case, and he gets locked up. And he gets sent to prison. He gets sent to prison. And now Ron has had no contact with anybody, no letters, no pictures, no nothing. So he doesn't know who anybody is. He doesn't know what David's son looked like or anything like that. And David's son is just wilding out. He's wilding out. And he's part of a little gang, and they're doing their thing and all this and that, and just doing all sorts of things. Just living a real wild and crazy life. Didn't take heed to what Ron was trying to tell him about doing the right thing and all this and that. He did the wrong thing, and he did it to the utmost. And he got caught up. And he got him a nice little 10-year sentence. Yeah, a lot of people say 10 years is not a lot of time and all this and that. And I agree that compared to what some people get, 10 years is not a lot of time, but 10 years away from your family, one day away from your family is an eternity when you think about what you're going to miss. So now David's son is in the penitentiary for 10 years. He doesn't know anybody other than his gang brothers. And they're roaming around like predators, stalking prey and just robbing and doing all sorts of things to people that they deem, are weak. So one day, David's son gets it in his head that he's going to rob Hard Time. Because see, Hard Time goes to work and he stays to work, and he's going to get in his cell. He's going to take everything he gets. So he pulls it off. He finds a way. He gets into the cell. When he gets into the cell, he sees that ain't nothing really in there. His cellie doesn't have much. In Hard Time, he's just dealing with his time in a hard way, so he just got the basic stuff. Noodles. So David's son, he takes all of the noodles. Takes all of his noodles. He leaves his hygiene and all this and that because it had already been used, but he takes all of the man noodles. 20 noodles off the shelf. This is all he had. 20 ramen noodles. And he takes them. He didn't have to do that. He was doing that just to be mean and spiteful, just to say he took something. So when Ron came back to the cell that afternoon, he sees that his stuff has been taken. Now, early during his incarceration, somebody attempted to take something from him. And he set the tone then. And he beat that man. And from that point on, nobody had bothered him until David's son took his noodles. And now everybody's on hush. Because in the penitentiary, you see and you don't see. You see and you don't see. You hear and you don't hear. So nobody's telling him who got his noodles. Nobody really talks to him anyway. Now he's in the cell, and him and his cellie don't talk a lot. And his cellie, because he don't want to be accused of being a part of it, he tells him who did it. He said one of the little gangbangers took it. So his cellie points out David's son to him, and he sees him. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't say one solitary word about it. He goes on about his business. See, this time, instead of beating somebody, he thinks he's going to have to do more. So he finds his way, Ron does, he finds his way to the guy that is known for making pocket knives. So he goes to him and he asked him how much for a pocket knife. And dude tell him, $50. So he tells him, I got you, make me a pocket knife. He gets the size and shape of it, how he wants it and all this and that. And dude goes to work in making the pocket knife. Now, when you're in the penitentiary, people, particularly certain people, gang members especially, hear everything that's going on, especially when somebody's trying to get a pocket knife, because usually they're buying up all the pocket knives. So when somebody that's outside of that circle is trying to get a pocket knife, it becomes known on the low to certain people. I would always hear about different people trying to get this and get that because, that's just how the people are that make the pocket knife. They keep the gang members aware of what's going on in case it's going to be something. So David's son hears about this guy that he doesn't even know, Ron, Hard Time they call him, getting a pocket knife. And if you want to know how this turns out, you're going to have to tune into the next episode, y'all. Y'all know how this goes, right? Tune into the next episode. But before I go, I want to tell you about my question of the day contest. How it works is this. I'm putting a question of the day up every day where my producers are in the description box of the show. You answer all the questions for that week correctly. Email it to doingtimewithjoe@gmail.com. If you get all the answers correct, you may be chosen to get a $50 prize from my producer. All right? So make sure you do that, y'all, okay? And have fun with it. And let me know what you think about the questions and all this and that. Hit me up on that too. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.